Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of Into the Necrosphere, and the first of my double installment of an absolutely epic conversation that I had with Jeremy Wagner. Jeremy is the founder and guitarist of Broken Hope, absolute death metal legends, and he is also an award-winning, critically acclaimed, and best-selling author. So he put out 2 books thus far, The Armageddon Chord and Rabid Heart. And as I mentioned in last week's episode, we're really going to spend today talking about the band, talking about the writing process, some of his books and some of the projects that he has in the pipeline. I'm then going to pause and we will continue next week where we will do my countdown of my top 10 horror movies of all time. So Jeremy and I went through each one in detail, and we went deep. So if you are into horror movies, definitely check that out. Also, on the topic of last week's episode, I just wanted to say thank you so much for the amazing support and the amazing reaction to the episode. I think we did, in the space of 24 hours, as many downloads and views on YouTube as I have done for pretty much all of the episodes that I've posted thus far. So you either love yourself some Sam Loyns, which I can understand. He's a very likable man. Or you guys have been out spreading the word, in which case I really thank you and I really appreciate it. Like I've said before, I do this show entirely for fun. So, this is not something that I ever intend to make a huge amount of money off of. I can't actually monetize anything on YouTube because I play music. I'm never going to have a Patreon. I'm never going to stand with my beggar's cup asking for donations like some other folks in the scene have done. I do this entirely because I like talking to interesting people, and I like having a show to share with all of you guys. So you can help and you can show your support just by liking, sharing, subscribing, and if you do listen to this on iTunes, Stitcher, or any of the podcasting platforms that host this, then leave us a 5-star review, subscribe, and you can have a fresh new episode of Into the Necrosphere on your phone or tablet or wherever you listen to podcasts every single Tuesday. Also, just before we get to my conversation with Jeremy, a reminder to stick around after the interview for another round of what I am cranking this week. Slightly into the archives this time round. An album from 2018, an EP I should say, as well as a record that came out this year and another EP from this year that I thought you might be interested in. There's not really been a whole lot in the last 2 weeks or so that I've either liked enough to want to spend enough time with to talk about, or that I've liked at all, to be quite frank. So yeah, stick around for that one. But right now, please welcome to the show for the first time ever, the first of hopefully quite a few visits in the future. This is Jeremy Wagner. Awesome. Jeremy, welcome to Into the Necrosphere, the show that carries your personal seal of approval, because as I mentioned on an Instagram post the other day, I did steal Into the Necrosphere off a Broken Hope album, but I couldn't do it without your blessing. So thank you very much. And I think, as I said, it's just fitting that you're actually a guest on the show.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I love the name of your show. Obviously,
I do think it's. I was thinking of a bunch of stuff, and it just suddenly hit me because I think I was actually listening to Broken Hope when I was pondering different ideas, and then as soon as that hit me, I was like, "Fuck, this is just so perfect." I have to ask Jeremy if he's okay with it.
Oh, dude, man, fucking I'm more than okay. That's so cool. That's still a staple in our live set. Every time, every concert we play in the Necrosphere is a staple, and it was the first video we ever did too. First MTV video we ever made was for Into the Necrosphere. So, starring my father, by the way, is the mad mortician dude. But yeah, so very cool. But thanks for having me, bro.
No, dude, it's an absolute pleasure, and I mean, I think it's probably a good place to start just to get an update on what's going on with Broken Hope. I saw you in person last year when you guys were in London playing, and I as you saw on Instagram, I still talk about that show. But I know when we spoke, you kind of felt like you were going to slow down on the touring stuff, which I completely understand. What's the status of the band now? How are you guys? What's up? What's new with the band?
Well, I did stick with what I told you. We took a whole year off. We didn't do any touring or anything, and I personally, for me, I just wanted to pick and choose my battles with Broken Hope as far as what we do, what makes sense. When we played London, when you saw us, for example, we played this real dive place, and it left a lot to be desired. The fans were great; it was a great show, but like just dealing with promoters like that, that was a pain in the ass. And I'm kind of the tour manager for the band, handle a lot of the business. And after a while, it gets on my nerves, I guess, I'm like,
yeah.
I feel like I'm answering to like 10 people all the time. And I gotta just, I just want to play my instrument and do shows that make sense. You know what I mean? Because I've been doing this so long, not that, I'm above playing a dive. I'll do anything for the fans and for a sick show. It's not about that. It's just about the traveling. Part of it is dealing with, shady promoters and just, a lot of bullshit, So I'd rather fly in and out to do a great festival or some show in some city that's going to be really special one-off, and then fly back home and be with my family.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I said, hey, I'm slowing down on the touring. Now, if a tour came along that made sense where Broken Hope was supporting, some huge band, then I'd be happy to go on tour. I guess it's more of, again, Broken Hope trying to headline and be out for 6 weeks headlining. It's just, we're not really a headline band at this stage of the game. Again, I started this shit when I was in high school, 1988. I just turned 49, like, I don't know, 7 weeks ago or some shit. So kind of get where I'm coming from in life, But Broken Hope, very passionate about Broken Hope. People know Broken Hope as my baby, a little infant that's now grown into a 30-some-year-old adult. But it's still something I love. I love death metal. I love fucking writing sick lyrics, and I love writing the heaviest, sickest fucking riffs. So therefore, Broken Hope gives me that wonderful, release to do that stuff creatively and live. So recently, despite not being on tour, we did 3 dates in Japan with Immolation last month. That was awesome. That's another feather in our cap in our band history, just to say we played Japan. And the shows were so great and fun. And this Saturday, our drummer Mike is getting married, so I'm standing up in his wedding. But Mike and I have already talked, like, as soon as this wedding is over, we got to start writing a new Broken Hope album. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to start writing some new songs and put a new album together.
Yeah.
I'm
curious, your experience of working with promoters in Japan, how does that differ, or how does their approach to the business differ to the States or to the UK?
Well, the beauty of the Japan tour was we only had to deal with one guy. He was a promoter, agent who handled all the shows we did. And he was with us along for every show. So I didn't have to worry about anything. That guy took care of everything, from advancing the shows to, giving us per diems and handling merchandise. I mean, and holding our hand so we could travel through Japan safely and easily. So the difference is, I had someone taking care of all that who was really competent and really cared about Broken Hope. And versus me, who cares about Broken Hope but doesn't want to have to do all that shit, but has to do all that stuff, you know. When we travel, I'm the travel agent too for the band. I've put my credit card on the line, paying for everyone's airfare, take care of hotels, all that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah,
so,
and I guess, I mean, that puts you in a pretty shit situation. If you're losing money, you then have to turn around and ask your bandmates, say, listen, guys, you know, I know we all lost money on this, but, you know, I'm going to need you to cover your airfare. I'm going to need you to, you know.
Those guys in the band, they fucking got it made, man. I actually, if we lose money, I make them whole. And fucking, I pay them like almost a salary. I pay them more than what our guarantees are. So they got it fucking made. Anytime someone bitches, I want to fucking punch them in the fucking face. In this situation.
But you guys, in kind of this, you know, I guess you can't really call them the new incarnation of Broken Hope, but you guys all seem pretty tight, and I get the impression, especially when you know, having seen you guys on stage twice now with this lineup, there seems like a real bond and a real brotherhood in the band, and it shows in the performances too.
Don't let my words mislead you. I say I want to punch someone in the face. Once in a while, someone will bitch about something, but you know, it's again, I just got to remind people that, you know what, I'm fucking really working my ass off here, and you guys don't have to worry about losing money or anything. I'm the guys losing money. But that aside, this is a dream lineup. I mean, I've been with Damien and Mike since 2011, and then Damien and Mike together since 2012, and then shortly after, 2014, that's when Diego and Matt came on board, and this has been the lineup for the last 5 years. And I love those guys. Everybody in the band is passionate about Broken Hope, passionate about death metal, passionate about playing live and writing music, and are really just down to earth good people, like actually good people. Like that's what friends should be, is like, you know, sounds corny and cliche, but a friend is someone who's a good person.
Yeah.
You can rely on, and who you have a shitload of laughs with and enjoy their company. And again, not sound like a goddamn dork or corny, but that's exactly what Broken Hope is now, is, you know, a band of brothers, you know, and we really do get along. And I'm glad you could see it just hanging out with us, you know.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, where you really see it is you see it come through in the performance on stage. And I'm not. We won't name the venue by name. I mean, anybody can look up historically, and it's me saying this, so you know, the blowback, if there is any, shouldn't be on you. But I said it to you at the time. I could completely understand from yours. In fact, I think I called it when we were leaving and going to the hotel. Like, I could tell that you were disappointed, and I was disappointed for you guys, because you turned in such a fantastic show. And having seen you guys a year prior with Cattle Decapitation, I mean, that was just you know, absolutely monstrous. And it was like, you go to this fucking shitty venue, which, from, you know, my perception, being local, hadn't really done much to promote the show. There's picnic tables everywhere. It's in the middle of fucking nowhere. I would have been, if I were you, I would have been so pissed. I would have been beside myself. So I completely understood when you said you wanted to kind of backpedal a little bit off the touring, because I just think you get to a point where, I mean, that unprofessionalism and just that, it's just illogical. Why would you even invest in putting on a show if you're not going to, you know, I guess push it to reach its full potential?
Yeah, right. Why you know, cough up the money to you know, pay a band or actually for a tour package we were on, you know, pay for that, and then, you know, not properly promote the show or anything. And plus, you know, I do my due diligence, you know, acting as tour manager for the band. Advance all the dates way ahead of time, check in with the promoter, say, Jeremy Wagner from Broken Hope reaching out to you. We're playing your venue on such and such a date. We're really looking forward to it. Do you have our rider, our stage plots, all of our information, blah, blah, blah. Can we do anything else for you, et cetera, et cetera. Promoters write back, hey, thanks for advancing the date. We appreciate you connecting with us. It's going to be a great show, everything. So that promoter for that particular London date wasn't much different. Heard back from them. And then, when we get there, there's a load-in time that they had set up, like any venue, usually in the afternoon. And access to the green room or backstage area and whatnot. So we got there. No one's there to have us load in properly. We get into the venue. There's the backstage areas, locked and stuff. And then just on and on that whole day, it was just kind of like unprofessional on their end. And we're just like sitting on the street waiting and waiting and waiting. And then the guy shows up, I think right before doors, were opening. And they're, like you said, they have these picnic tables in front of the stage.
Yeah.
They got
Which makes
people
no sense.
Way, and then he's like, hey, come on in. Here's your backstage area. And it's like a storage closet that had half barrels of beer and all their supplies and some kind of horrible couch. I remember that. Just looking at it, you're like, yeah, don't sit on it. Don't get near it.
You get hepatitis just from sitting on it.
And then the catering, like I just, I think there was a Domino's pizza next to the venue. And I'm one of the only people here. I don't know what about you over in London, but here in Illinois, my family and friends, everyone hates Domino's but me. So I was like, I want to get a pizza. And everyone's like, no, fuck that. And then when that catering showed up, man, Domino's started looking like fucking 8-ounce beautiful filet mignon. People are like, shit, let's go get pizza. This, because the catering was just terrible. But anyway, it's no different than, should I've experienced before. It happens, some promoters are cheap, some aren't. But anyway, when I talked to you in London, again, not to beat a dead horse, that whole show, that's when shit really started sinking in, coincidentally, where I'm like, I ain't doing this shit anymore. It's got to be professional. I got to have an agent, a booking agent that tells me, you don't want to play that venue or deal with this promoter. I mean, our agent is awesome and wants to keep us busy. We hate days off. But the flip side, dude, between London and we played Leeds, UK was even worse than that, dude. Yeah. Oh my, it was horrible. And I'd rather have a day off than waste my time, humping gear and doing stuff. I'd rather have a day off in London, hanging out with Jackie Smith and Joel McIver and Stu Gardy's and my friends that I have in London and maybe going to the Imperial War Museum or Natural History Museum, just dorking out on culture and history. That's what I like to do. So that would have been a lot better than wasting my whole day at that place.
And this is again, you'll have some fans cry and sob and say, "Oh, well, listen to his attitude. He's in it for himself." But I mean, I think you just get to a point in your, in your life where that unprofessionalism and that Mickey Mouse shit, it just becomes too much to handle. I remember when I was writing for Chronicles of Chaos, one of the things that tipped me over the edge. I went to the underworld, and Sarah Lease, who was working at Earache at the time, actually not Earache, she was working at Century Media. She let me in to meet with Gary from Exodus, and they just put out an album. Gary actually recognized me from me having met with him the year before, and he waved to me. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I said, "Hey, I'll be with you in a second." And the security guard stopped me, and he's like, "Do you have a pass to be in here?" I said, "No, I don't, but Sarah brought me in. She's with a record label. The band is over there. They recognize me. I'm here to do an interview. I'm going to be about a half an hour. I don't even mind going out when I'm done and then coming back in when you guys open the doors." And I was very courteous and nice to him. And it went back and forth for about 10 minutes. And I mean, the guy is literally like a fucking, public sector worker, someone who works at the DMV. And eventually I said, you know what, stop wasting my fucking time. And I turned around and I left. So the guy grabs me on my shoulder. He's like, what did you say? I said, stop wasting my fucking time. And I left. I just went home. I didn't even stay for the show. And it's just, it's stuff like that. You get to a point where you just go, look, I've had enough of this bullshit. I'm old enough that I don't have to be spoken to like that anymore. And I don't have to put up with this anymore.
Right. That was a security guard at the venue.
Yeah.
A lot of, dude, every venue I've been to all over the world, there's always a security guy that acts like they're a fucking rock star. Like, you get these rock star security guards that almost act like they're more important than the band playing.
Yeah.
I've seen security guys attack big band members. Like I saw a guy once grab Rob Flynn, a Machine Head in Milwaukee, and like manhandle him, and then the crew and everyone fucking grabbed that because the guy's so stupid he didn't know Rob Flynn was, and like shit like that, dude. And just acting like fucking assholes, dude. Yeah.
But there is a pervasive unprofessionalism, I think, in the metal scene, unfortunately. And I just felt so bad that you guys were on the receiving end of it that badly, because I was watching the show. I was like, I think I emailed you afterwards and I said, you know what would have been amazing is if you guys were out on tour with a band like Bloodbath or I don't know, Morbid Angel or any number of bands that I could see you doing a great kind of dual headliner or maybe a kind of main support slot with, and you'd had there 500-600 people seeing this, they would have been fucking blown away. I've seen, I'm not just saying this to placate you. I said at the time as well, I would never say this if it were not so. I've seen upwards of 600 to 700 bands in the last 2 decades. That was the best death metal show I've ever seen. And even my girlfriend, who's into hip hop and doesn't listen to anything that I listen to, even she thought it was great. Yeah. And she still, to this day, says that it was a really good show. So it was just such a shame that more people didn't see it.
Yeah, I know. It is. I mean, no matter what venue we play, Jackie, no matter how many people, again, like when we played Leeds, I think we played to like 8 people tops. It was, and the venue was moldy, musty. It was like being in a cavern in the bottom of a castle. It was really bare and raw. And our singer was sick too. Damien didn't play that show. But we still gave 1,000%. Same with London. And what we do is, we bring stuff with us for production elements, whether it's a backdrop or strings. And we always have a great sound man. We always make sure, no matter what PA we're on, what venue we're in, that we sound amazing. And that's like that sound man, that's an expense I eat. I personally pay for that. I go the extra mile. So that's what I want, no matter what, bro, no matter, I might bitch about a venue or unprofessional promoter or whatever, but I care enough to make whatever show we do amazing. When I step foot on that stage, I have an obligation to anyone, whether it's 8 people, 80 or 800, to deliver the best show possible. Every member of Broken Hope has that same attitude and philosophy. So we do our best, put on a great show. We make sure we sound great by bringing a professional sound man. And there you go. So just hearing you say that and knowing your girlfriend, who doesn't even listen to death metal, thought that,
Well, I think actually up until that point, the only death metal she'd heard was death metal I'd played on the hi-fi. So like I said, I was very much, that wasn't just the first death metal gig she'd been to. That was the first metal show she'd been to, period.
All right.
So it was a bit of, I think Sean, my friend who was with us at the time, he just looked at her. He's like, do you know what you're letting yourself in for? But
that's awesome.
So this kind of, I guess this last or newer phase of Broken Hope, what's kind of the first thing you think of when you think about this phase? Because I feel like I was listening to the Broken Hope back catalog in preparation for this chat, and one of the things that I really got more of a sense of, I think, listening to everything back to back, when I listened to the last two records, is just how much more confidence there is in the band. And weirdly, I can see it on stage as well. I mean, obviously, I never saw you guys in the old days, but especially the last time round. No matter how shit that scenario was, there was so much confidence from the band. Damien has become such a confident and such a charismatic frontman. And again, I think it really translates on album as well.
I think it's interesting when you look at the catalog, because the first 5 albums are a version of Broken Hope that had all the band members in their 20s.
Yeah.
1 through 5, those first 5 albums, all the band members were in their 20s. The first 5 albums featured Joe Thyacek singing. Ryan Stanek was on the first 4 albums, our drummer. Those 2 guys are both deceased now. They're gone. And so that first, you'd almost call it the 90s era, this first era. I mean, we started in the 80s. We had these demo tapes and stuff that got us signed in the 80s. But the real Broken Hope
classic,
right, was 90s era, all really young guys. And then, boom, we went on hiatus, and what a culmination of, Joe quitting the band right after we recorded Grotesque Blessings, the 5th album. He didn't want to tour anymore. Brian Griffin and I just being the last 2 guys from that 90s era with a bunch of hired guns. We did, European tour, US tour. That was it. Just because with all the hired guns, I've said this in interviews before, that last lineup before we went on hiatus was just really shitty. We didn't like it. No one was getting along, and enough was enough. So when I reconnected with Joe in 2010, so like a decade passed, no Broken Hope. I did the band Lupara that, we did the 1 album and a MTV music video and some touring. And I did Earthburner, the extreme grind band worshiping terrorizer thing that we did an EP with. But Broken Hope coming back properly in 2012, different animal, like you said. So, God, you're talking about me jumping off Broken Hope ship, or doing the last album, say, 29 years old, something like that. And then bringing Broken Hope back, and I'm 42 years old. And, it's like I had a lot of time to grow up and realize, what I would want out of Broken Hope, and what integrity was about. No matter what my age, I was gonna still make sure I wrote the sickest riffs possible. That's always been job 1 for me, Jackie. Like, on a quest to write the heaviest riff, still to this day, to write death metal. Death metal is my favorite genre of metal. I love all forms of metal. I love all forms of music. I have very eclectic tastes. I mean, just listening to the Bee Gees, on a playlist while I was writing my newest horror novel. I listen to all kinds of shit. But when it comes down to writing music, I like to write really, really heavy, extreme metal. And so being in my 40s, that hadn't changed. Same with writing lyrics. I'm always obviously writing. When Broken Hope came back, I already become a best-selling novelist. So, and I'd always written the lyrics to Broken Hope, so that wasn't going to change. And I was just, wanted to keep that. But when it came to business and just being mature and being an adult, you know, like the broken hope of the 90s, guys in our 20s. We didn't know a lot of shit back then about music business. We were always learning a lot, sometimes the hard way. And I can't say we always got along that great, honestly. You know, there's a lot of infighting and, you know, shit like that, just immaturity. Not that I don't respect any of those guys, you know, from the 90s, but which I do. I really respect everybody that's been in the band. But you know, I'm just looking back as a dude who's almost 50, thinking about myself in my 20s. Even I wasn't. I did a lot of stupid shit too. So, so it's just a different animal, wiser, and I think better and just more professional. So when you say, in not so many words, the broken hope of now seems like it's more together or something, you know? I think it just has to do with life experience, wisdom, and, you know, doing what you love while maintaining that chemistry that made Broken Hope special. You know, there's not a moment I don't step on a stage. I'm serious. Any show I do, and I'll play a song like, you know, Swamped in Gore or Gore Hog. I'll think of Joe and Ryan in my head while I'm on stage playing the guitar. I'll play a song like Into the Necrosphere or I Am God. I'll think of Sean Glass because he wrote music to those songs and he wrote some really sick riffs. So when I go into like a bridge, I'll be like thinking like, yeah, Sean wrote this, or you know what I mean? Like I'm very mindful. I'm also a very sentimental guy too. That's probably part of it. Where I just give like a mental quiet salute to those guys that made Broken Hope special to begin with. Yeah. And I try to fly the Broken Hope flag as high as I can because I'm the last original member doing it, you know, and I'm the guy who did it with Joe and Ryan in high school. That's how we started, the three of us. And I'm still here. And I just try to maintain that spirit. And with each album, though, like you said, keep it together and also offer some new music from Broken Hope that people find exciting and also blow their fucking heads off, too. So.
So writing wise, I felt like the hype and the good feedback for Rabbit Heart was I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you say you were surprised by it. It was you know, much bigger than Armageddon Chord. The book was just massively well received, and I remember when you were telling me about the idea for the story. I love the concept of it. You know, how do you kind of feel about how the book has landed with people? Were you surprised by how positively everyone received it?
Yeah, I'm really surprised, and I'm very delighted too. And the thing, Rabbit Heart has an interesting history because after the Armageddon Chord, I had Rabbit Heart was actually, I think, already in the first draft. By the time Armageddon Chord hit publication in 2011. And what happened is started out as a short story. I had been given this opportunity to write a short story for an anthology for a major publisher, St. Martin's Press. And that anthology is called Hungry for Your Love. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to jump right into it. I got an idea for a story. The story, Rabbit Heart, started out, like I thought it would be within the range of 5,000 words. That's what the max word count was. And next thing I knew, it was like 20,000 words, 25,000 words. I had to put the brakes on. Like, this is turning into a novel now. It's really taken on a life of its own. So I put Rabbit Heart to the side and start with a brand new zombie story, which was called Romance Ain't Dead. And that was basically more of a Haitian, old school Haitian zombie type of story. And then St. Martin's Press bought that story, which is awesome. And then that actually put me on the map when that anthology came out, because it sold a ton of copies, and I think they did like 60,000 copy first run or something. So that was great for me. But I still had Rabbit Heart to finish. But what was happening? So that was in 2010 when that anthology came out. So I got this book deal for the Armageddon Chord, which was actually already done. So an agent was like, "Oh, I see you're not signed to an agency. You have the story in St. Martin's Press," and I had dropped the name the Armageddon Chord in it somewhere that this agent saw. So she's like, "Could I take a look at it?" I'm like, "Sure." It's like whatever revision number it was, check it out. So she came back. She says, "I'd love to represent you and shop this, but you need to do some more editing." And we worked on it. She shopped it around, got me my book deal. Armageddon Chord came out. So I was like, what's going to be the next book? And get the thing is, Rabbit Heart was on my radar and it was waiting there. But I was reluctant to actually do anything with Rabbit Heart because I thought, and this was like 6 years ago, that the zombie genre was oversaturated already back then, with, between The Walking Dead, zombie TV shows, zombie movies, zombie comics, zombie novels, and a lot of authors I really love and respect, I thought had done some of the be-all, end-all zombie type books.
Yeah.
That said, I had my wife read Rabbit Heart and a couple other people just to get their 2 cents, like these group of what I call first readers. My wife's always my first reader. And then I've got a couple other people I really trust who are more like editors who give me their feedback and read a lot. So everyone was like, this isn't your typical zombie novel, Jared. Really has some solid bones. Why don't you flesh this out and do something with it? So I took that to heart. I started working on it more, and then I felt okay. You know what? One thing I always strive for is originality. Whether it's writing a riff for Broken Hope or lyrics for Broken Hope or writing short fiction or novels, right? I always want to try to have an angle that is different from anyone else. And I really worked hard to put the reader in the shoes of the main character of Rabbit Heart, on the Driscoll. And I really focused on that. And when I was finished, and I worked with this great editor, Juliet Ullman. She was fantastic. Then I shopped that book around. So when I got a book deal with Riverdale Avenue Books, they were really head over heels for it. And they wanted to do everything, paperback, hardcover. I never had hardcover with the Armageddon Chord before. Audiobook, they wanted to put everything into it, and they did that. They released the book in every format, and next thing I know, these reviews are coming in that are fantastic. Like Publishers Weekly is like something like Rabbit Heart is like gritty old VHS horror movie with Misfits lyrics with parallels to Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Well, that fucking blew my mind because Cormac McCarthy is one of my favorite authors of all time. In fact, The Road is a book, a novel that when I thought of it a lot when I wrote Rabbit Heart, because the chick takes this road trip, and the story Rabbit Heart's, pretty dark, pretty bleak when you get down to it. And that's kind of what I embrace in Cormac McCarthy. So anyway, just to have Publishers Weekly name drop him in a review for the book. Oh, it's just a detail, a little thing like that really, made me misty. I'm like, this fucker, that's an awesome review. And then I got another review from, I think it was Kirkus Reviews, who never reviewed any of my material before, but actually reviewed this. And they were like, the point of view of Rhonda Driscoll is what really captures the reader, with horror as a backdrop to her experience. And that was really great for me, because that's what I wanted for the reader to get into, this young woman's head, this 21-year-old hairstylist who's now in a post-apocalyptic almost landscape full of all these rabid zombies called Cujos that have suffered a pandemic, and she's suffered PTSD from losing her family and from experiencing extreme violence. Like, that was my approach, to be realistic with her point of view. Like, what if that was you and that happened? How would you? And I'm like, I think about that, and I'm like, I'd probably be experiencing all kinds of mental trauma. Like, I lost my whole family, and I got to learn how to survive. And so, and because of her being 21 and having suffered all this trauma and shit, she doesn't make the best decisions, as you read. She takes this road trip with her zombified fiance, and so anyway, to your point, all those reviews have made me really happy on those levels. And then independent reviews from horror bloggers and whatnot have been really supportive. Blurbs and mentions from authors like Brian Keene, Peter Blauner, Al Makatsu were huge authors who I love and respect. To have them even bother to read my book and then blurb it out there that they think it's awesome, that as a writer, man, to hear that from people I admire, like as peers, or not even peers, heroes, like, I'm like, wow, that's pretty awesome. That would be like if Jeff Hanneman were alive and he said, yeah, the new Broken Hope album is fucking amazing, man. I can't stop listening to it. It's like that level for me.
Making a movie and Scorsese goes, that Wagner's new movie is pretty awesome.
Exactly. So that those kind of accolades made my day. But then, bro, above and beyond that. Oh, and by the way, this month makes 1 year anniversary Rabbit Heart was released. So in this last year, the other thing is I've won 4 book awards for Rabbit Heart. Best horror novel. One was like best cover artwork for the book, which is cool because I think that cover is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I like it as well.
And a couple other, and then I was nominated for best horror novel at this year's Splatterpunk Awards in Austin, Texas. And the Splatterpunk Awards to me are extremely prestigious as a horror author. I didn't win at all, but to be nominated for best horror novel by the Splatterpunk Awards is an honor, dude. And so So that book, I was reluctant to put out because I thought no one would like it, or they would dismiss it as just a zombie novel. I'm really glad I didn't fucking put it in a drawer or not do anything, because it's surpassed any of my expectations, and people are still reading it and loving it. And you know, that book, all books like albums are eternal, so it'll be out there for eternity. And so I'm really proud of it, you know. So on to the, you know, I'm working on new stuff now.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Isn't it interesting, though, how a fresh take on, you know, what you would call, and I would agree with you, an overcrowded genre can suddenly get such, is actually sometimes as effective at getting attention as something that might be completely new and completely different. You know what I mean? So, so just a slightly fresher and just a twist on something typical. So if I think of zombie movies, for example, a zombie movie that I'm a huge fan of is a Korean flick that came out about, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, called Train to Busan. And it was the same deal. I
haven't seen it. It's on my radar because people told me to watch.
It's exceptional. And it's one of those things where, you know, I'd seen World War Z and I'd kind of, you know, yawned my way through most of The Walking Dead. And it's like, you kind of go, I've never found zombies to be a particularly scary proposition in any way, shape, or form. I don't, you know, the zombie genre, I've always kind of, you know, I've been all right with, but it's never done anything for me the way some of the other stuff we'll talk about in a bit has done. And then Train to Busan comes along, and it's like, Jesus, this is just done so well. And they, you know, in typical Korean fashion, they know exactly how to ratchet up the tension. They have a very, very different level of, I would say, sensitivity towards violence. So, I mean, the movie is crazily violent. Not as bad as a lot of other Korean stuff, but yeah, just a movie that just succeeds on so many levels. And again, it's ultimately just a zombie movie. You know, zombies attack people on a train, but they just put a bit of a twist on it, and it just stuck out as you know, certainly the year that it came out is one of my favorites that year.
Wow.
And anyway, yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is Rabbit Heart, I think, struck me in the same way. It's you know, it is an entry into a crowded genre, but it approaches it from such a different angle. And I think that touch of, there's two things that I think make it stand out. One is those shades of Cormac McCarthy that you spoke about earlier, but actually I think also bringing home the reality of how that character would have felt in you know, had this been reality, you know, so the PTSD, all of that sort of stuff. Because I think too often horror ignores the effect that seeing or experiencing any of these terrible things that it shows would have on the character if this were real life. So, you know, like take a movie like The Conjuring, which didn't make my top 10. It's not a bad movie, but what I've never been able to get is, how would you see all the horrific shit you've just seen, and then right at the end of the movie, husband and wife stand arm in arm going, well, you know, they sort of seem so happy and relaxed afterwards, give each other a kiss, movie's over. It's like, you've just seen shit that would send most people to the insane asylum.
Yeah.
And now everything is fine 5 minutes later.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I view movies and stuff the same way. Like, wow, really? You didn't even, you know, I'm just, you know, reaching out into thin air. But, you know, say there's some movie and a dude like just sees someone get their head blown off with a double barrel shotgun, doesn't blink an eye. Like, you know, like, what, you see that shit every day or something?
Exactly. Where do you live? Is this in Baltimore?
As much as I love gore and horror in my movies and the stuff I write, you know, I like that escape. In real life, dude, like the real life shit, you know, people violently murdered, you know, whether it's cartel killings or, you know, I'm fascinated with the macabre. I can view that stuff, but I think seeing that shit though, like in real life, just at the end of the day, I'm a human being, and I just, you know, I lose my mind seeing people, you know, shot to death or in a concentration camp.
real life violence
Yeah.
is very. I mean, I think a lot of people that have never experienced or never seen real life violence, I don't think they know what they're talking about when they are making flippant statements over it, or when they go, oh, well, it didn't faze me when I saw this on a movie, so all of a sudden it's not going to faze me in real life. I've seen some seriously gory shit, but I've seen a car accident happen right in front of me. A guy rode up the side of a barrier on the highway, flipped his car over onto its roof. That shit gave me nightmares for about 2 weeks. Because at the time that it's happening, your brain is like, and I think this is true of a lot of violence, because I've seen, a lot of people get into fights. I've seen a guy get stabbed to death outside of a train station.
Holy shit.
Yeah, no, that happened about a year after I moved to London. But anyway, so the when you see it happening, it's like everything is your brain is catching up to it 30 seconds later. It's like it's happened. And then your brain is kind of coming in and going, hey, actually, you didn't just watch that on a movie. That's not a screen in front of you. That's real life. So, it's the same as there was my daughter's mom, that we had a house fire there. And just the quickness of it, and how much damage it did in such a short time, and the noise and everything like that, it fucks you up, man, in ways that you wouldn't begin to imagine. You can watch a house burning down on a television or on a movie, and it's like, what? Wait till it happens to you for real. It'll fucking unnerve you in ways you didn't think possible.
Yeah, it is, and all that stuff is what I reached into with Rhonda Driscoll, because I sat back like this. By the way, I'm in my office here. This is where I write all my books. And do all my writing in here. So if I could, wish I could move this around to give you guys a view, but there's a fucking bookcase over here, the library. There's another 2 bookcases here full of friggin' books. Then on the other side, on one big wall, is a giant painting by an artist named Todd Shore, ToddSchorr. If you don't know Todd Shore, look him up. He's fucking awesome. But anyway, so sat back in my chair like I do when I'm dwelling on story or agonizing over a word. I do that a lot. Sometimes I agonize over one goddamn word. But anyway, I'll be thinking of a character like Rhonda Driscoll and go, like, again, what would I do in her shoes? What's real reality? That's what I dug into. That deep point of view for me is crucial. And
agreed.
I learned that from not only being a writer and being a reader and wanting the most out of a character that I'm reading about, but I got that from an agent. She said years ago, an literary agent told me, she said, reach for deep point of view, Jeremy. Reach for deep point of view in your characters. And I always knew point of view was important in a character. Tight point of view, everything through that character's eyes in a chapter, not multiple points of view in a chapter, one solitary character's point of view.
Yeah.
I wanted to dig deeper and deeper. So that's when I started asking questions. Well, what's reality? What would a person do? What would you do in that situation? And then to your mentioning of, seeing Train to Busan and what reading or seeing something original in a zombie genre that is new and fresh, that made you go, oh, wow, okay, I like that angle. With Rabbit Heart, I wanted to share with you real quick a couple of things. Zombies always terrified me more than any other type of genre monster, if you will. More than vampires. And I have my favorite vampire stories and movies, but zombies always fucking freak me out more. Werewolves, I got my own werewolf movies and books that I like, but nothing like zombies, man. And it all goes back to Dawn of the Dead when that came out, followed by Day of the Dead, which is probably one of my favorite zombie movies of all time. those movies to this day, I'm talking from late 70s to now in 2019. No bullshit. I have dreams at least once a year, sometime twice. I have dreams where I'm on this fucking military base. Mm. And I've got like bulletproof shit on. There's sandbags. There's fucking, military personnel barking orders, and there's fucking zombies like surrounding this thing. And like, it's fucking terrifying. It's always the same scenario. And they're coming. The Walking Dead are coming for me. And I've had that forever. Mm. So part of my fascination with zombies is the Romero films and then these dreams, these fucking dreams, man, I've had since childhood about zombies. It's no bullshit. Yeah. And if you read Rabbit Heart, how does it open up? 6 months after this necro-rabies pandemic, and it's the main character. And where is she? She's on a Marine military base. Yeah. I wrote all that straight out of those nightmares I had. I haven't told anyone this yet. So there's that. And then the other thing is, when I saw the movie 28 Days Later, that's the first movie where that made me go, holy shit, wait a minute, this is something new with zombies. And I thought it was so well done. And the fucking zombies, there's people that are like, fast zombies suck, Yeah. But they terrified me. They were so full of whatever was making them enraged that they were fast and fucking lethal. Like, there's that scene where I think it's that chick throws a Molotov cocktail, hits the dude, the infected guy, and somewhere in London or whatever, and he's still fucking running, and it's like, wow, man, it's terrifying. So I took that, and also they say write what you know. That's what has been told to writers. Maybe you even picked that up being a journalist yourself. Yeah. But I was actually bit by a rabid cat when I was like 3 or 4 years old on a farm I lived on in central Wisconsin. And back in the 70s, you had to go through a series of rabies shots. It's my understanding if you get bit by a rabid animal now, I think you only get like one shot of some special needle, right? Yeah. It's got it, and you're done. But back then, dude, I had to go through a series of like 25 rabies shots, and that was one a day. Every 24 hours, my parents had to take me to the fucking hospital to get this shot, and they put a needle like that big. You use the metric system over there, so I don't know how many centimeters that would be, but it's fucking a needle like that.
About 10, 15 centimeters.
And then I'm about the size of your little daughter, and they're putting that needle has to pierce the stomach wall and fucking.
Oh, jeez.
Well, by day 3 of getting these rabies shots, I was super young, but I quickly could see out the window of the car of the fucking hospital, and I knew what was coming. So I'd fucking throw a fucking fit. So my parents trying to hold me in the car, get me in the hospital, and every time for the rest of the series, it always took like 4 nurses to hold me down, like one on each leg and one on each arm to hold me back and lift my shirt up so they could stick that fucking needle in. Dude, that was traumatizing. To this day, I got tons of tattoos and shit, but it's psychological. Tattoo needles people are like, why are you scared of syringes? Because when I go in to get a shot of any kind, a syringe makes me start sweating. My palms get moist, and I'm nervous as fuck. Like a fucking baby. I asked the fucking nurse to hold my hand or my wife to hold I swear, don't feel the fucking needle. 9 times out of 10, don't even know. But dude, it's because of those rabies shots,
Yeah.
So, anyway, so yeah, I was like, thinking up ideas for, so 28 days later, like, I'd like to see really violent zombies, not just slow walking, rotting corpses, which the zombies in Rabbit Heart, they slowly decay. They make no sense too. Like, I get into the scientific angle of how can a corpse be rotting away, even some advanced decomposition with it.
Yeah.
Bones showing it. How are they fucking even animated in movie? It's part of this necro-rabies virus. But the rabies angle all came from that traumatic time in my life when I got bit by a rabid cat and had to get those shots. And I did a lot of research. I've done a lot of research on rabies and stuff. So that just got woven into the story as part of the angle to, of course, the military. Like in every movie and book, it's their fault. They were fucking around.
Yeah.
They were going to do with rabies to fucking, make, helps make their soldiers more ferocious or some shit or whatever. Yeah. And it got out of hand. And so anyway, I pulled all that stuff together, things that blew me away with modern approach to zombies, and then things I did research on and things I experienced. I don't know, just kind of came together to give a fresher offering to the zombie genre. So yeah, that's kind of how all that shit came together.
So I am going to pause right there, and you can tune in next week for part 2 of my conversation with Jeremy. during which I am going to be doing a countdown of my top 10 horror movies of all time. And like I said, Jeremy and I went into great detail on each of the movies that I mentioned. I think in total, the conversation that he and I had was well over 3 hours. So he was a very patient and very indulgent guest, and it was an absolute pleasure to have him on. I hope that you guys enjoyed the first part. We'll look forward to sharing the rest with you next week. But right now, it is time for another round of the illustrious and thrilling What I Am Cranking this week. And the first band that I want to bring to your attention is a studio project, I believe, out of Minnesota. The project is called Nòtt. They have put out a self-titled EP on Bandcamp. I should say they put that out last year. The band features James Benson of Amiensis, Chrome Waves, Fail to Decay, Adora Vivos. And if you're familiar with any of those bands, I know Chrome Waves and I know Amiensis. Chrome Waves is kind of post-black metal. Amiensis is more traditional, kind of depressive black metal. Whereas Nòtt is, with all due respect to those other bands, far more up my street. So it's much grittier, much more aggressive. But there are plenty of atmospheric breaks and enough melody to kind of make sure that it's never monotonous. And really for me, firstly, the EP, I wouldn't have highlighted if I didn't think it was excellent. But I have to just kind of stop and comment on just how vibrant and strong the US black metal scene is right now. I mean, with bands like Cobalt, Wolves in the Throne Room, Leviathan, and then kind of newer stuff coming out like Nòtt, Merc Rider, etc. This is. I think if you're in the States and you're a black metal fan, you've got a lot to be proud of when it comes to your local scene. There is also a new Nòtt album in the offing, and part of why I wanted to highlight this EP now is because James is going to be coming on the show very soon. So I thought it'd be good to share it. And if you haven't heard of it before, then definitely check out the EP on Bandcamp because it is well worth it. This is a track off said EP. The song is called Worthless. That is Worthless by Nòtt, off their self-titled EP, available on Bandcamp, and I will post a link in the description. Hopefully that has gotten you sufficiently pumped for James Benson coming on the show. That'll happen in the next couple of weeks. I have actually heard the new album because he sent me an advance copy, and I can tell you right now, it is fucking awesome. I think it'll probably be properly released next year, if I had to take a guess. And in my view, I think it potentially could be one of the black metal releases of 2020. So absolutely check it out. Give these guys your support. Speaking of giving people support, from Ontario, Canada, my second pick of this week, Tomb Mold. And when I posted about this album on the Into the Necrosphere Instagram page, I got more likes coming in thick and fast than probably anything else that I've posted about in the last 2 weeks. If you don't know Tomb Mold, they are an exceptionally busy band. I think this is the third record they've put out in 3 years. They play mostly very fast, brutal death metal, but with tons of kind of crazy atmospheric breaks, very sci-fi tinged breaks, sort of spice things up. And really, this is one of those albums where you can listen to it 50 times and you're probably going to keep discovering things that you didn't the first time round or the second time round. Planetary Clairvoyance is one of those records that to me it kind of transcends the death metal genre, at least to the extent that if you were ever a fan of that style of music and you found yourself a little bored by it, this is one to check out because it will almost certainly bring you back in the fold. So this is Tomb Mold off of Planetary Clairvoyance. My favorite track off the album, this is Infinite Resurrection. So, on to my final pick for this week, and the band in question is Utkena out of Greece. Three gentlemen. This is their first EP. I don't know whether they're actually billing this as a demo or whether this is an official EP, but it's called The Firmament's Hand. It's available on Bandcamp, and it really is superbly well-written black metal. I mean, to a point where there is so much maturity and such kind of well-developed songcraft on display across the 4 tracks that are on this EP that I genuinely can't believe that this is the first thing that these guys have put together. And actually, having looked them up on Metal Encyclopedia, I don't really think the members have been in all that many bands prior either. So, it's not like it's a bunch of salty dogs doing a super group. But sound-wise, it reminds me quite a bit of what I would call the third wave black metal bands, so bands like Above Aurora and Audacious. Some of that kind of discordance from Deathspell Omega is in there as well. But it sort of has a flavor and style all of its own. Kind of like a lot of the bands out of Greece. Rotting Christ is a great example of that. Greek black metal that is black metal, but is very distinct in its own right. And Utkena definitely are no exception in that regard. So if this EP is anything to go by, I genuinely cannot wait to hear what these guys put out next. It is absolutely superb. I am going to play again my favorite track off of that particular release. This is a song called Flux. That was Flux by Utkena, off of The Firmament's Hand. And as I said earlier, I will post the links to everything that I featured on what I'm cranking this week in the description of this video. If you're listening to this on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, then like I said last week, use your little digits, go on Google and actually find it yourself. But anyway, I am done for this week. I hope that you guys have had a heck of a time listening to the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you will be back next week for my top 10 horror movie countdown. I have had a blast as always, but I am out this piece. So from the mean streets of Surbiton on the outskirts of London, I am saying adios, muchachos.